Hello, Raptors fans, and welcome back to Raptors Report. Today we are going to be discussing the Toronto Raptors' victory over the Indiana Pacers. It was a very fun game to watch. But before we do that, I want to talk about the coaching and the management of this team because I think it's time to give the people in charge some roses for what we've seen from the Toronto Raptors early this season in the rebuild. And I know that it seems a little strange to be giving coaching and management flowers when the team's record is 7-15. But if you've been watching the games and you have been seeing the progress that's being made by the players on the team, the players that they've picked up, they went out and got, things are looking pretty good. Things are actually improving. Players are getting better. The performances of the team have been improving. There is a lot of optimism to be had with the Toronto Raptors right now, and it's important to take a look and understand everything in context, because Darko Rajakovic has done, in my opinion, a very good job as a second-year coach. His first head coaching opportunity in the NBA. He had a really good quote during Media Day, and what he said was that when you're building something, you start with the basement, you start underground, and you build the foundation. And from the street, you don't see any growth because the work hasn't come to fruition yet. You're still toiling around underground. So to people who are simply watching from the outside and looking, it looks like you're not building anything. But the most important building comes in that stage when you're building the foundation of something. What we're seeing right now is the Toronto Raptors building a foundation that they can create a nice looking house on top of. It seems that the Toronto Raptors front office has added a bunch of very good pieces to the team, not the least of which was the hiring of Darko Rajakovic. And Darko Rajakovic, I mean, they took their sweet time hiring Darko Rajakovic. They had like a months-long coaching search where they interviewed like tons of different candidates. So I don't know if I enjoyed the process, but I do enjoy the result because I think that they have picked the right man for the job. And that's difficult to ascertain at this very moment because obviously Jordi Fernandez is doing a fantastic job in Brooklyn. Sergio Scariolo has a great resume. So, you know, there was some tough competition there. But from what I've seen in terms of building the groundwork, the results in terms of the growth of the younger players that have been added to the roster, the offensive and defensive system that we've seen the players grow into, I am really enjoying what I am seeing from Darko Rajakovic. And if you've watched the show Ted Lasso, I like the show. I'm not the biggest fan, but it is a good show. One of the elements of the show is showing that you can be a leader of men, a person who inspires and coaches up guys, without having to be the sort of stern disciplinarian guy who is constantly on his team's back. You can lead with positivity and grace. A lot of people have an image in their mind of a coach being kind of a Bobby Knight character who's throwing chairs and, you know, tough love, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure there have been many examples of coaches that coach that way and have had a lot of success. But in terms of what Darko Rajakovic has brought and adding a sense of positivity to the locker room that is infectious. And we've seen it this season. I've noted myself that for a team that is now 7-15, a record where the loss total is double that of the win total, that the team has maintained a positive outlook. When you see guys on the bench, they are enthused, they're happy, they are cheering on their teammates. When you hear a post-game interview, or if you look in the dressing room and you hear the feeling of the room, things seem light, things seem positive. Players seem to be pulling for one another. There seems to be great team spirit that you can only assume is part of what Darko Rajakovic is bringing. The coach is only one element of a dressing room, but it is a very important element. And for a young team especially, they are looking to the coach to bring guidance and leadership, and a lot of how you behave comes from how the leaders behave. And when it comes to the actual development, that's really where I have seen huge steps, and you have to give flowers to the coaching staff and also management as well, because they have picked the players who have been brought in and they've seen potential in them. Obviously, you have to say, like, the players themselves are making these steps. It's not simply the management doing all of this. You really have to applaud the players as well. Like, they are the ones improving. But at the same time, when you see the growth that players have taken once they've gotten here, number one, Barrett went from a situation where he was not looking very good. In fact, he was seen as a negative asset on the New York Knicks, a guy who took too many shots, was not playing the right way. He was very hot and cold. And then when he came to the Raptors, they gave him a bit more rope. They introduced him into a system that used his talents maybe a little bit better than they were being used in New York. And also, I think a low-key part of that was simply getting away from Julius Randle. I think that Julius Randle and he played too similar of a game. They both were interior players. And Julius Randle was definitely a me-first player. I think that he was a very big presence in that lineup. And when he was getting his, I think it kind of pushed RJ out. And as soon as he got here, it speaks volumes to Scottie Barnes, because Scottie Barnes is, from a 10,000-foot view, is a kind of a similar player to Julius Randle. I mean, he's a lot better, but let's think about it. They're both power forward size players who are interior scorers, can pass, like to shoot the ball a little bit, are tough, rugged players. But in terms of what Scottie is bringing, he's much, much less selfish. And you can see that RJ and Scottie Barnes have an innate synergy with one another that just did not materialize within on the New York Knicks. And I think that Darko has done a very good job integrating him into the offense and giving him the opportunity to succeed. He's taken a big jump. Grady Dick had a nightmarish start to last season, and he, along with Ivo Simovic, who is his shooting coach and one of the development coaches on the team, and Darko, of course, as well, he's taken a huge step and looked like one of the more improved sophomores in this season until he got hurt. You're starting to see guys like Jonathan Mobo, who was, the 31st pick in the draft, kind of maybe a bit of an afterthought this season, emerge as a strong player. Ochai Agbaji, who was, traded along with Kelly Olynyk, who presumably has a bit of value when he was traded, for the 29th overall pick. He was cast off of the Jazz, who looked terrible. They need a player like Ochai Agbaji. And he was not developing very well in Utah. And he comes to Toronto, has kind of a disappointing end of the season last season, and then has come back in to Toronto this year and is one of the elite shooters in the league. He has taken a huge step this season. So you're looking at all these players that the Raptors have brought in. Of course, some of that has to go to the front office, but a lot of that has to go to the coaching staff as well, putting these players in positions to succeed. There's not a lot of players that have taken a step backwards. Disappointing. Okay, Jakob Poeltl. How many people were saying, Jakob Poeltl, why did we trade a first-round pick for this guy? Oh, average center, who cares? He was just kind of seen as just Joe Nobody by a lot of people in this fan base and certainly around the league. God, the flack that the Toronto Raptors front office got for trading a first-round pick for this guy. He comes in and has completely flipped the script. The guy is looking like one of the best centers in the Eastern Conference. He's averaging a career high in points and rebounds. He is looking like an extremely important part of the Toronto Raptors offense. So when you see all these players taking a step forward, I mean, who has looked like they've taken a step back? I can't really even think of a player who you're saying, oh, this guy he's having a down season. Everybody seems to be taking a step forward, a big step forward. I'm kind of burying the lead here. Like, who has taken a huge step this season? Who had the best game last night? Scottie Barnes is looking like he is taking the superstar step and doing everything. And there was an interview where people were asking him, like, Scottie Barnes, is he taking too many threes? Is he taking too many threes? And I was saying that. I was saying, like, take better threes. Maybe don't take so many. And Darko said, no, he's not taking enough. Where, like, it's the ultimate belief in your players and saying, like, prove me wrong. I have super high expectations for you. I believe in you. Let me down. And players, I don't think, want to do that. I think they want to prove them right and continue to achieve and get better. And Scottie Barnes is making that leap. He is getting to that rarefied air of one of the players in the NBA who can literally do it all. We saw it last night. Maybe this is a good jumping off point to talk about the game last night. We'll go into the individual performances. Let's talk about Scottie Barnes, because he had a revelation of a game last night and simply dominated the game in a way that very few players are able to do. And he did it in every single facet of the game. But you don't have to look much further than the box score, because the box score kind of encapsulates what he was able to do. 35 points on 20 shots, incredible efficiency, 35 points. You don't get that very often. He was 3 of 7 from 3, excellent. 6 of 8 from the line, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, a steal, and a block. And okay, 7 turnovers. Whatever. He did everything. His fingerprints were all over this game, on offense, on defense. You look at Pascal Siakam, who is a very good player. I am a fan of Pascal Siakam. I know that some people in the fan base aren't huge fans of Pascal, but I have been root for Pascal every time he doesn't play against the Raptors. But he had 13 points on 13 shots. Scottie Barnes simply did not let him catch the ball very often. A lot of his shots were on the perimeter. He did a fantastic job defensively on Pascal Siakam. And I'm sure there was a little bit of playfulness going on, but Scottie Barnes kind of flexed on him and with a big smile and looked at him. I don't know how much of that is in your face and how much of that is kind of a little bit of a wink to him, because they were teammates for so long and I'm pretty sure they're on good terms. But, you know, Scottie, he's crazy. But he had an unbelievable night. He did everything and is quickly emerging as one of the top players in the Eastern Conference. And a lot of people fell asleep on this guy. So many. You look at the top 25 players under the age of 25. ESPN did a list. They ranked Scottie 11th on the list. When you see a game like he had last night and the averages that he's putting up this season, the fact that he is a two-way player, a guy who is the number one option on offense, okay? He is not a role player. He is handling the ball. He is making plays for his teammates. He's scoring outside and inside. He is doing it all on offense. And then on the defensive end, he is a big, strong player who knows how to play on the back end. Guard the basket, grab rebounds, grab defensive rebounds. That is huge for this team. One of the biggest things about Scottie Barnes is that he is no longer guarding the perimeter. They brought in the guys who can guard the perimeter. Now he can play his natural position on defense of power forward. Scottie Barnes is playing that role, and it is making a huge difference for the Toronto Raptors defense. Having the perimeter defenders take care of the smaller players that Scottie Barnes used to have to guard. I never understood that. When Nick Nurse did it and put Scottie Barnes on those perimeter players, I felt like it accentuated his weaknesses and diminished his strengths. His strength being that he is 6'10", huge, long arms, athletic, and his weaknesses, which is he has really good foot speed for a big, but he is not a guard. The guards are very fast, and they can get past him if they're fast enough. It just doesn't work as well as when he is guarding a player who is similar size to him, like Pascal Siakam, right? Then you start to see him really shine on the defensive end. So, I mean, monumental performance by Scottie Barnes. He did it all. And he is really sharing the ball and playing kind of your turn, my turn in a positive way with the second player on this list. RJ Barrett, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 turnovers. But on 9 of 16 shooting, he was 2 of 6 from 3. He went to the line a whole bunch. 9 of 12 from the free throw line, which I will take that any day of the week. 75%. I'm okay with that. He has been a revelation for the Raptors. He helps the Toronto Raptors offense so much when he is on the court and penetrating and getting into the paint and making plays. And he really gives the Toronto Raptors that kind of high volume, high usage player that can score efficiently and get into the paint and score at the rim. Those players, they're not easy to find. A guy who can take 10 shots inside the arc, go to the line 12 times, hit and ones, score in the paint, create chances for a team in the paint, take a lot of possessions. And especially against a team like the Indiana Pacers, and their Achilles heel, their big problem is that they don't guard the basket. And RJ Barrett is like the perfect player to attack a team like the Indiana Pacers, where he is putting so much pressure on the Indiana Pacers defense. And sometimes, like we saw against the Celtics, where they have really good interior defense. RJ Barrett is playing the distributor role. He will get in, he'll draw the help, and then he'll find guys like Poeltl or spot up shooters because he can't score on the inside. But in a game like last night, where if he gets into the paint, he is probably going to score, he's just going. He's doing it. He is scoring. He gets that 29 on really good efficiency. And in the fourth quarter, that's where we saw that really shine. When the Raptors, the Pacers caught back up to the Raptors. The Raptors were turning it over. The bench kind of squandered things to let the Pacers back in, and then they were hitting shots. It was kind of snowballing in the wrong direction. TJ McConnell really got going. Talk about a guy who can score in the paint. That guy was unstoppable in the fourth quarter last night. RJ Barrett came back in. He started scoring at the rim and pulled it out of the fire for the Toronto Raptors. Just the consistency of his ability to get into the paint has been, his calling card this season. And even the games where he's struggled, he's been getting into the paint but not finishing. But I feel like we're watching a guy figure things out and really start to understand how he can impact a game. We are watching a guy take a step from negative asset, overpaid, overrated. You heard a lot of these kind of pejorative terms floating around RJ Barrett when the Raptors acquired him. And he has really flipped the script and become an effective scorer in a league where it's difficult. They make it hard for guys who want to drive to the rim. And another element is just the shooting. He is continuing to make a couple of threes every game. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from RJ Barrett. Moving along to, and as I've said, the big three. It seems these three guys are always the top three players when I talk about the team. Jakob Poeltl coming in third here. 17 points on 10 shots, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, and some big free throws in the fourth quarter. He was perfect from the line there. You can't hack a yak. 10 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers. He had a great game. Another great game, right around his season averages, 17 and 10. When you watch him play, it's clockwork. He's in the right place on offense. He's doing the right thing on both ends of the floor. He is consistently doing the correct thing, whether it's contesting a shot at the rim or making the right switch on the defensive end, grabbing a key rebound, using his body to box out. And then on offense, the screens he's setting, he's catching passes. He rarely turns the ball over when he catches it, and scoring very efficiently. What else can you ask for from a traditional center who is a role player on offense and a key player on defense? He's just doing a very good job. He did have 2 possessions where I was like, okay, we got to stop this, where he was guarding Tyrese Halliburton on the perimeter and he got crossed over twice. And the thing about Jakob Poeltl is that for a center, he has very good foot speed. So if he is guarding a guy who isn't one of the quickest point guards in the league, he's doing a good job of moving his feet and swiveling his hips. He's not a bad perimeter defender. That's kind of one of the things that he has going for him on the defensive end. But when it comes to Tyrese Halliburton, it seemed like they were conceding that switch a little too easily. And I think Jakob Poeltl maybe got a little too full of himself saying, I can guard this guy in the perimeter. I admire the bravery there, but it didn't really work out for the Raptors. Tyrese Halliburton crossed him over twice and got into the paint for an easy score. So I like giving Poeltl his flowers, but we'll also show the other side of the coin when it's necessary. But a lot of players were saying, well, we need a stretch 5 next to Scottie Barnes. We need a stretch 5 to open the floor up. We need this, we need that from the center. And you look at what the Pacers have. Okay, so Miles Turner, and then you look at what the Raptors have in Jakob Poeltl. Like, which type of player would you rather have? The thing is that sometimes meat and potatoes, it's delicious. There's a reason it's called meat and potatoes, is because you can have it every day of the week and not get sick of it. That's kind of what Jakob Poeltl is. He's doing the right thing, providing all of the help. And Miles Turner, it's like the package is a little bit more enticing. Like, it's a little sexier. He is hitting threes. He is making those shots. He can heat up and score. But from a position that is the number one skill is help defense and defensive rebounding, Jakob Poeltl is what you want from that position. So, I mean, I like Miles Turner. I'm not going to completely slag the guy. I think that he's a good player. But in terms of providing what a center is supposed to provide, doing the dirty work, that is what the position is. And Poeltl is providing that for the team, so we can't overlook that. Next up, we'll talk Ochai Agbaji. I thought he was great, and he was 3 for 3 from three-point range. And my God, I was almost pulling my hair out last night because all of the guys on the floor, even Scottie Barnes, was ignoring this guy in the fourth quarter. I mean, the guy was perfect from three, and the Pacers were leaving him open just again and again and again, and the Raptors were not rewarding him until Davion Mitchell finally gave him the ball, and he made a huge three down the stretch in that game to put the Raptors up. I think that was kind of the dagger moment for the Raptors. And he had 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 turnover. I thought he was great. I will say that he has made such a huge leap in terms of his offense and what he's able to do on the offensive end that I am blown away, and I'm extremely happy with how he's developed. I would say that my estimation of him as a defensive player has taken a step back from where I thought it would be. I thought that he would be a little bit better defensively than he has been, which is not to say that he's a poor defender by any stretch of the imagination. He's certainly one of the top perimeter defenders on this team. I've said this so many times, I don't want to belabor the point, but he's not an elite perimeter defender. He is a good one, but not elite. And I think there's room to grow there. I think he could get better, but he's not having the defensive impact that perhaps I thought he was capable of. With that said, the growth that he's made on the offensive end has made it so that his two-way play, I mean, this guy has been phenomenal for the Raptors, and he was very good last night. One of the very best shooters in the league this season so far, knock on wood. I think that his shot, just the mechanics of it, how it looks, and the repeatability and the scaling, he's been able to increase his attempts and the position on the floor. He is no longer just in the corners. Many of the threes that he is taking are above the break now. He is just simply transformed into a very, very good shooter. So listen, I'll take that trade-off, like a little bit worse than I thought he would be on defense for like unbelievably better on offense. Take that trade any day of the week. Jakob Poeltl was also in the starting lineup. Not a great game for the rookie. He is a rookie. He has ups and downs. He's showing flashes. I still think that the game is moving a little too quickly for him on defense. He shows flashes on that end. I think that he has potential on that end, but he is making some mistakes that are being taken advantage of by veteran players. 3 personal fouls in 17 minutes. He's a rookie, and he didn't have a great game. 1 of 6, 2 points. He was 0 for 3 from 3. Yeah, not a fantastic game from him, which is fine. Raptors get the win. He gets some experience. It's all good. Okay, we'll start with Davion Mitchell. I think he had a great game, especially on defense. His defense is always very good. His offense is streaky, and he made some mistakes last night. Don't get me wrong, but 8 points on 9 shots. He hit a 3. It's almost like a make-a-wish thing on offense where you're like, oh, yes, hooray, he's done this kind of thing that you kind of expect from a guard. But the reason that you're doing that is because he is so effective defensively that any little kind of bit that he is chipping in on offense, you're kind of happy with. And he did do enough on offense. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal, only 1 turnover. So I'll take that. I think he is doing his job. Jonathan Mobo, wow. The guy is playing fantastic. Stat sheet stuffing. 3 points, 5 rebounds, again, 2 offensive rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, only 1 turnover. He is definitely a gotta watch the game guy in order to understand the impact that he's having. Because for a guy who's playing like 15 minutes a game, he had 15 minutes last night, he has more moments in the game where you're like, ooh, nice play. Oh, that was great. Ooh, look at that. That was really impactful. Like he has per minute, maybe one of the highest on the team where you're just like sitting up in your chair and noting that he has done something good. And 3 points, if you don't watch the games, you'd say, so what? I guess the rest of the box score is impressive. The 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, like that's good stuff. But this guy has potential. And he plays smart. The only thing that he doesn't do that's smart that kind of gets me upset is the biting on pump fakes. It seems like it's something that all young bigs, especially energy bigs with big hops, they want to use it to their advantage so that they can smack those shots into the second row. But he gets baited into fouls by leaving his feet a little too much. But other than that, the guy plays a smart brand of basketball. Unfortunately, we're going to go in the opposite direction. Chris Boucher, you look at the stat line, you may be like, oh, not a bad game. He was a disaster last night. He made a bunch of really silly mistakes on defense, a lot of silly mistakes on offense. I have been, if you've been watching this, if you caught every episode, I've been saying Chris Boucher has been one of the best bench players for the Toronto Raptors this season and has really carried the team off of the bench, but he has hit kind of a slump. And last night was not a good night for him. I thought that he played silly and made too many mistakes. There were multiple possessions. I think he did it in the first half. And then in the second half, not getting back on defense, he let his man just beat him down the court and dunk the ball. And it happened in both halves. Hard to forgive those kinds of just silly mistakes that are all about recognition and effort, because he made big mistakes last night. Jamal Shed, we'll mention him really quickly because he only played 10 minutes, but I thought he made an impact, especially the shooting. Jamal Shed has turned into a strong shooter. It's a hot streak for him. I don't know if it's sustainable, but it is a quite hot streak because he was 2 for 2 from 3 last night. Those were all the points he had. He had 6 points, hit both of the threes he took. One of them was a ridiculous shot. It was this absurd kind of flailing heave at the rim, a last second shot. He had to put it up, so it wasn't a bad shot. He had to heave it up and it swished. So good job, Rook. And I still think that there is an element to his game that is not great, is that he is trying to impact the game defensively. He's trying to do the thing that he did in college, which is get into guys, but he's fouling too much. And it might be the rookie whistle. It might be that he doesn't have the rep yet that allows the top defenders to play more physical basketball. And it will probably improve as he gets older and becomes a veteran who the officials know and maybe respect a little bit more. But at this stage in his career, it looks overzealous. It looks too aggressive. And a lot of fouls in the NBA it's not just about the foul that's being committed, because so many fouls are committed during the course of the game that aren't called. It's the optics. How does it look? You have to walk that tightrope as a defender of playing that really tough-nosed defense that stops offensive players from getting where they want to go and creating turnovers and deflections and all of that without fouling. And he hasn't quite figured that out yet. He's still picking up these ticky-tack fouls that put the other team in the bonus too early. So he's got to work on that. As a whole, for the game, I have mentioned this. I'm going to give myself credit here because what was I saying? What was I saying for the past couple of weeks? Look at the homestand. Look at this 7-game homestand. Look at how the Raptors have played at home. Oh, the road, they're not playing very well, but look at this stretch of games. There are a bunch of games that the Raptors can win. You are starting to see these close games that the Raptors have had on the road where they weren't able to convert. They have their confidence going. They have their alpha back. I know that alpha is just the most overused and ridiculous term, but when you watch Scottie Barnes play, the team rallies behind him. He is the leader of the team, and they kind of go as he goes. They're going to win some of these games, and they have. They've beaten 2, I'm not going to say great teams. I don't even know if they're good teams, but they are not the dregs of the league. They can win. And it wasn't as if they were facing a hobbled Pacers team like they did last time. It wasn't as if Tyrese Halliburton had a bad game, because he has been horrible on the road, and he was not last night. He had 30 points. He was 10 of 16 from the field. He was 4 of 9 from 3. His 3-point shot was MIA on the road. We saw it last game when they beat the Pacers. He was just completely off. He wasn't last night. And Miles Turner played, and he hit some shots. It was not as if the Pacers were just incredibly shorthanded and the Raptors were picking on a team that can't win on the road. They had some performances from their best players, but they played well enough to just beat them. And the Raptors, when they have those 3 top players in Scottie Barnes and RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, and then they're getting a very solid 4th guy with Ochai Agbaji, who is providing that role player juice on both ends. They're getting the production that they need. They're getting the defense that they need to win games. And as I said, this is the time when you're going to start to see the Raptors pick up wins. They pick up their second win in a row. They're 3-2 over their past 5. They are 5-5 over their past 10. The team is playing well. I think that anyone who watched the games, anyone who actually sat down, viewed the games, saw how things were going, saw the direction the team was going in, would tell you the team is not going to be a bottom feeder much longer this season. And next up on the docket will be a real challenge for the Raptors, and that is, of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by Canadian superstar MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is, turning in another phenomenal year. They are missing Chet Holmgren. He took a nasty spill, hurt himself. He's going to be out for a couple of months. But on the bright side, they have gotten Isaiah Hartenstein back from injury, and he's looked solid for them. He's kind of doing the Jakob Poeltl thing for that team. Jalen Williams is an excellent second star. He can score inside. He can score outside. He can make plays. He's your prototypical scoring two-way wing that has a huge impact on games. He and RJ kind of similar, although, of course, I think Jalen Williams is still a step ahead of him, but it speaks to volumes to what RJ has been able to do that maybe you can sneak him into a conversation with Jalen Williams, who is one of the top young players in the NBA. And, of course, Lou Dort, Canadian national team stalwart, love that guy. They have a lot of really good players on their team. And they're one of the best teams in the entire league, and I enjoy catching their games. I root for them. They're maybe my team in the West. So that should be a good test for the Toronto Raptors if they want to test their mettle at home. They're a good home team this season, especially with Scottie Barnes back, but that will be a challenge. This is a good measuring stick. If they can't beat the Thunder, can they make it a competitive game where they have chances to win the game in the fourth quarter? And they will be playing them tomorrow night, December the 5th at 7:30. And I'm excited to watch that one. But yeah, that's the episode. How are you enjoying watching the team? Do you agree with my take that you have to give the flowers to the front office and the coaching staff? Do you think that maybe I'm going a little bit overboard because the team's record isn't very good? What do you think about the players' development? Are we seeing the best of RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, or is there another gear? Can they get even better than they are right now? Please let me know in the comments and also on Twitter and Blue Sky, where you can reach me at Raps Report. I am super excited to talk to Raptors fans, especially after wins. Lots of positive energy, but I love our community, and I'm always excited to answer your questions, respond to your comments, that sort of thing. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, because that really helps the channel grow, helps get the word out into the algorithm, all that good stuff. And as always, thanks for tuning in to Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors basketball.